What's up?
Good morning. Are you prepared for Jehovah's return? Because if you're not, I have a pamphlet with it. Well, fuck you. Head dead motherfucker. Come on, sister. Come on, sister.
Hold on, time is wasting. So joy to your bright light. No more hesitating. So joy to your bright light. Relax your mind. Relax your mind. Relax your mind. Close your eyes. It's Yancey Boys. Set your mind free, let your mind free. That's the past, don't remind me. This the present, next to future. No negative energy, I will mute ya. Only positive energies surround me. Only open minds around me. Only free spirits around me. I let my vision guide me, and I let the rhythm find me. I don't panic, I just work it out. Plan A, let's do it. We got shit to do, let's get to it. It's all good, that's what Dilla said. Get your shine on, get that bread. You know what you need. You know what you need. You know what you need. By the way, this is for those with a purpose. This is for souls with a purpose, and souls that make music with a purpose. I'm trying to bring the underground to the surface. I'm trying to get that Rolls Royce with the curtains. Anyway, peace out, y'all. I'm closing the curtains. Closing the curtains. Still a J and closing the curtains. JD, closing the curtains. Yes, boy.
Brighter Light Podcast. This is Santos and the homie Kelly.
Hello.
Hello, Kelly.
How are you?
Good. I had a great weekend.
Yes?
My nephew got married.
Oh, gonna be a daddy, huh? No, just kidding.
Am I gonna be a daddy?
No, your nephew.
Oh, he is a daddy. He's a daddy twice before they decided to get married.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
Was it a fun wedding?
Yeah, it was really fun. My two older kids came out. They live in Oregon,
Very
and
cool.
they flew out. And my son brought his girlfriend with him,
Oh,
and all the rest of my family and my nephews, his wife's family, and a bunch of dancing and just a good old time.
dancing, you heathen.
Good old time.
You know, there's a little joke in the kind of fundamental Christian faith that says, don't have sex because it'll lead to dancing.
Not what you would think it'd be don't dance because it'll lead to sex.
We're right. That's why it's funny.
Oh, so you said it's a joke.
What's
Say it's
that?
a joke?
It's a joke because
Okay.
because there are so many of the fundamental faiths that don't believe in dancing.
That's so crazy. So it's
Isn't
not
it?
just a movie.
It is not just a movie. I did not know when that movie Footloose came out that was an actual thing.
I
At
didn't
all.
know. I would never believe that.
No, that's an actual thing.
Today?
Today, yeah. So when I left being a witness, I actually started going to church with my husband. We went to church a little bit at different churches before we were married, but once we got married, we went to this like Christmas program at his old church, and everybody was very welcoming, and it was a smaller church, and the churches that we had been going to were so huge, I just didn't know anybody. And so it seemed like such a great idea to go somewhere where he was known.
What made you go to the church after leaving the cult?
Okay, so the way that I actually left was through biblical things. So I still very much believed in the Bible.
Okay, so you just didn't agree with the witnesses.
So basically, the thing that was used to get me out was it was the false prophecies. It wasn't that the Bible's wrong. It was that the witnesses were wrong. You know, so it's like in Deuteronomy, there's a scripture that says that the way to tell if a prophet is real is if one of the prophecies don't come true. And that person should be put to death if one of their prophecies doesn't come true and they claim it's God. Well then,
so it was their prophecies. Their false prophecies is the only thing that did it to you, but you were still okay with the Bible.
But see, I didn't do any other research other than what I had originally been given, which was their publications or copies of the publications that talked about all these different prophecies of Armageddon. I did read Crisis of Conscience, but even Franz remained a Christian. He was not anti-Christian. And so I didn't go outside of religion. I loved that part of my life. I loved that there was a God that looked after me and that I could go to with problems or feel like there's some sort of help. You know, I loved that. I always had that connection as a little girl of trying to please Jehovah. Like, I wanted that.
So you... Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's all right.
So you actively were seeking a new religion?
Well,
when you left the witnesses?
No, but I wasn't like talked out of all religion. I was only talked out of the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Right.
So because I believed in the Bible, I just kind of started going to church. And the first church that I went to, he explained that, and this is, so I was like, well, which church I'm going here, but which church is right?
Right.
And I was talking to the pastor, and he goes, well, you have that wrong. As long as you believe that Christ is the Son of God and you accept him as your Savior, that's all that really matters. The other stuff is just, your interpretation of what the Bible is saying to do or not to do.
Right.
So I didn't feel like it was every Baptist church was different than every, at the time, Mormon church or Catholic or, anything like that. I didn't realize there were such broad differences between them. So I just started going to church, and I had my own view of what Jesus wanted us to do, and I didn't want anyone else telling me what to do or what not to do other than what the Bible said. And so even if the church had a stance like the church I ended up going to was like, if you were going to be a member, you had to sign this membership thing saying that you wouldn't dance or drink.
Wait.
I know.
You signed it?
I did not. Absolutely did not.
Did you consider signing it?
Never. No.
Tell the truth, Kelly.
I never considered signing it. Because once I had been told what to do my whole life, that was it for me. I didn't like to be told what to do. I still don't like to be told what to do.
Well, what if you would have done those things after you signed it? Would they shun you?
I don't know, actually. But it was a commitment, and I'm not, you know what I'm saying? I never would have done it because I knew that I wanted to dance and wanted to drink. The first time I realized that it was in their membership was we were at my husband's cousin's wedding.
Right.
And there was no dancing, and I was like, "You mean there's no dancing at this reception?" And he's like, "Yeah, they don't dance here." And I was like, like your family? And he goes, no, the church. And that was the first I had ever heard of it. And I hadn't even considered being a member. I didn't know there was a membership. We just went on Sundays, you know. And then I found out that, yeah, if you want to be like a voting member of the church, you have to go through this class, and part of that is a commitment to not drink or dance. And I was like, well, I'm never going to do that.
Did you continue going to that church?
I did.
How?
I did. And the
How?
reason is they never like preached that from the platform, and it was a voluntary thing. You could choose to do it or not. But my thing was always, you know,
Do it
if they're
all the way.
teaching about Jesus' words, I'm cool. They start
Right.
telling me what to do or not to do, you know, then no. And it was nice to have kind of a bit of a connection because I had lost so many people. And though I still wasn't super outgoing at that point, just because I had been, you know, through such crap, I don't know, it was nice to go and have some place to feel like there's something social, you know. Because I didn't get out much. My husband worked a lot, and so on our time, you know, we were newly together, and so we just hung out together mostly. And, you know, we didn't meet new people. So it was kind of nice to go to church and actually meet new people.
It sounds so funny to me.
What
Going
part?
to church.
The church part, yeah. I'm so anti-religion now, though. So,
Right.
I mean, I know. And it was not that long ago that I was still going
Anybody
to
trying to
church,
tell
but-
you what you need to be doing, right?
Oh, right, yeah. I'm a little bit...
What you're doing wrong, what you shouldn't be doing, and what you should be doing. And yeah, fuck.
You know, I still had such a guilt complex from being a witness. I think that was another reason why it was easier for me to accept certain things, you know? Like going somewhere where there was like, you know, this is what God's people do and this is what they don't do kind of thing. But they were even very lax on... like people who were living together, they didn't really say anything bad about them. They didn't even preach against it. The biggest thing that was there, it was like every single Sunday was a come to Jesus type sermon. This is what, you know, Jesus loves you, forgives you, come to Jesus. If you feel like, you know, getting prayed for, come up to the front. I didn't have a problem with that. I wasn't like I felt like I was getting any biblical meat, but I did recognize right away that most people in church don't know the Bible at all.
Really?
Seriously. I had a very dear friend that she would talk about things and I would say, well, in the Bible, when this and this happened, and she'd be like, oh, that's in the Bible? You have been a Christian your entire life and you're a decade older than me, and you don't know that story. Like Lot. She knew the wife turned
She
around
didn't know
and turned
about
to a pillar
that?
of salt.
She didn't know why?
She didn't know the same day the girls got a little scared for not having a baby and got daddy drunk and took advantage of him, and they were okay in God's eyes.
The daughters?
Mama wasn't for turning around, but the girls were okay for, you know, getting daddy drunk and sleeping with him.
Well, they were supposed to do that, though, weren't they?
No.
Oh,
No.
I don't remember that story.
Not their own father. Had they been married, and their husband died, and then he didn't have any male siblings, that would have been totally cool to marry his dad. Also disgusting to me.
Totally disgusting.
But it was not okay to have incestual relationships with your own father, to have a baby. No, that was wrong.
And that's just one of those.
But they weren't
really
condemned for that.
It's one of those really stupid stories that if you use a little bit of common sense, you would know that that is completely impossible.
Right. Unless they were... I mean, but see, here's the problem.
If a man
Even
is
my own
if
child
a man
said
is
this to
blackout
me.
drunk, you are not getting him up, and he is not going to orgasm.
Well,
No way.
the only reason the only thing I know what a Christian would say though, nothing is impossible with God.
Yeah, I know that. I know. Exactly.
That's what they would say. Like
I
it was
know.
okay.
Yeah.
Even though they did it wrong,
With
you
Jehovah,
still wanted
with
them
God's
to have
spirit,
children.
anything can happen.
Yep. So that kid would be its own uncle, right?
Right.
Or brother, its own brother.
That's crazy.
Yeah. The kid would be its own brother. But see, God didn't punish them for that. In fact, they just skim over that in the Bible like, well, you know, they didn't think they were going to have any babies, so they got daddy drunk and got pregnant. Though it was only one day. It was the same day that Mama died. So, yeah, I just find it really odd.
What was it that made you finally realize the Bible itself?
Okay,
Of...
so we had these little darling babies come. We were fostering. Before our kids were adopted, they were foster kids, and so we were fostering, and I felt like, and they went to church with us, and they went to the nursery a couple times. Were so terrified they would just sit in church with us because they were terrified to be left, so I would just keep them with us. So I started trying to teach them Bible stories, and I was like, so one day God went to Noah. And I was like, oh my God, I can't say this story. Because I can't talk about the destruction of the entire globe and all of the animals like it's a cute thing. Like you see on every nursery in every Christian's home is the cool little Noah's Ark with all the animals on it. And I couldn't tell that story to my kids. And I was like, well, what story can I tell? Let's see, what stories Adam and Eve. Well, that's something that's scary too.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else? Can't tell the 10 Commandments because that all the 10 or the 10 plagues came before the 10 Commandments. Yeah. To get to the point of the 10 Commandments, you have to go through the slavery and the destruction of all of the children and all that stuff. So not going to do that.
And the angels were
killing all the firstborns that didn't have blood splattered on their door. Yes.
Sounds so ridiculous.
I know. So from all the animals too. Every animal who was a firstborn was also a goner.
It's crazy.
And the stink was so bad from from all, like the blood in the Nile.
The river,
it was just, there were some really graphic things. And I'm like, well, I'm not telling that story. I thought about Joseph and his coat that his father made for him, and I was like, well, his brother cast him into a well and sold him. That's not a good story either. So I'm thinking of, what in the heck? I'm editing all these Bible stories, but I've been taught my whole life to teach this stuff from infancy.
Right.
And I'm like, I can't. There's no age-appropriate way unless I'm lying to tell these stories. So I decided that because of being a witness and only reading the Bible, in scriptures here and there, and then the Bible reading at the congregation, I'd never read the Bible cover to cover. Now, I'm a very quick reader, and I absorb what I read. So, even though I'm quick, I'm still getting it.
Okay.
So I thought, I need to read the Bible cover to cover. So I get to not very far in, and we come to the story of Aaron, the high priest, who has two sons who were, being trained to be the high priest when he dies.
Okay.
Well, they're fornicating. And so Aaron is told by God to put both of his sons to death. And that if he mourns them, he then will be put to death. And I'm stunned because I'm like, I'm looking at this little guy who's my son, and I'm like, I don't care how old he is, this little dude's going to be my son. And if he did something wrong, there's no way that I could harm him.
Right.
It's very likely that I couldn't turn him into the police, let alone harm him,
Right.
So...
Depending on what he did, of course, right?
What's that?
Depending on what he did.
Depending on what he did, right. If he was if he's harming somebody, or,
right.
it's, I don't know. But I'm thinking this at the time, like, I couldn't...
I know what you mean.
The guy's having sex. The two are having sex. Yeah, bad deal. But, they're going to get stoned or slaughtered by their father, and he can't even, mourn, because then God's going to knock him dead, too. I'm like, but God is supposed to be love. God is love. God is love. You hear that your whole life, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Then we're made in His image. And I was like, that can't be. That absolutely cannot be, because I know that if God is love and I'm made in His image, there's not one fiber of my being that could put my son down.
Right.
Nothing. And then the other thing was, you look at, like, Abraham and Isaac. Abraham waited till he was over 100 years old, has this son, and then God's like, oh, go build an altar, throw that boy on there, and sacrifice him to me. But he was tricking him. God stabbed that poor man in the heart so deeply.
Sam, I'm just fucking with you. I want to see what you do.
And then it was like, oh, that's actually not the
for
case.
real. Yeah.
Here's a sheep. Go ahead and kill him instead. I just want to see if you do it. But the other part of that really kills me is, if God can read the heart, why in the hell would he put that poor, righteous, faithful man through that?
Well, and that's the same thing with Jehovah's Witnesses and the whole new system and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
Making it through Armageddon.
And then the 1,000 years.
The 1,000-year reign.
Again.
Yeah. For what?
Right. If you made it while you're imperfect, I mean, doesn't that kind of null it's going to get tested once you're perfect?
Why?
Part?
For what? How much testing does a motherfucker need?
But see, I never looked at that stuff. I only just believed. Like, I just thought, well, who am I to question? Because isn't that the big bad thing that Satan did? Is he questioned?
Yeah, I know, right?
See, that is the bad thing. Independent thinking and questioning. The fruit of the knowledge of good and bad, that was the bad thing they did.
Right.
And in fact, if you look at that story, that was the other thing that killed me. If you look at that story, Eve and Adam were told, don't eat the fruit, and in that day that you eat of that fruit, you will surely die. Satan was like, no, God knows, the day that you eat that fruit, your eyes are bound to be open. Did they die that day?
No. And you know what other thing? The other part about that is Adam and Eve were perfect beings, right?
Right.
Can a perfect person make a mistake or a bad judgment call?
Right. Well, see, what's funny is I don't think that everybody thinks, like, a friend of mine, when I was telling him I don't understand how in their perfection they could willfully sin, he said, well, they weren't perfect. I was like, what do you mean they weren't perfect? And he's a big-time Christian guy, and he was like, they couldn't have possibly been perfect because they were able to sin. And I was like, so he made them imperfect knowing that they were going to sin. He's like, well, he knows everything. I'm like, then what was the whole point of creation at all?
Right.
Seriously, if you wanted complete obedience, you know what? I have a dog. She's actually about 2 feet away from me right now. She would do anything for me.
Right.
This dog, there is nothing that, and she's an old lady now. She's crippled up. But if I asked her to protect me, she would.
You don't need to test her every now and again?
Never.
Even though you know that she will?
I know it. And you know what? Perfectly obedient. However, she doesn't really think independently. She just loves me because I feed her. She loves me because I pet her. I mean, if he wanted robots or just the animals, fine. But I don't understand the whole premise of the Bible. I just don't believe that there's...
Maybe he likes drama.
Well, see, that makes more sense to me.
Right.
But I just can't look at the Bible and believe it. So that was when I actually lost my faith.
Right.
I completely just was like, it can't be real. And what was so hard was I didn't know how to tell my husband.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. That was like, okay, so he was with me through the JW thing and coming out of it. But then I became what he was. So how is he going to react when I'm like, you know what?
Right. I don't like yours either.
I don't like this either. Yeah, exactly.
and you probably don't like this either.
I mean, it was just like...
Turn away from his faith.
Well, I was actually okay. If he wanted to keep going to church, if he wanted to do that, that was okay. Because I didn't have a disgust for it at this point.
Right.
I just didn't believe it anymore. So...
How could you... Okay, never mind. Go ahead.
No, go ahead now. Curious.
How could you only not believe it without having some level of disgust for it? Because I didn't believe it.
Because the people that I cared about who believed it, not the whole congregation, because there were some doozies in there, and I had come to realize I tend to be a really forgiving person because I've screwed up so bad in my life. I realized people make mistakes. People do stupid things out of blind faith. And I just was like, the people who are the screw-ups, they're just screw-ups. And the people who believe it, they're doing it out of their heart.
No, I meant a disgust for the Bible and.
Oh, I had a
what's
disgust
taught in
for the
it.
Bible, but I wasn't disgusted by, like, if my husband still wanted to go to church, I wouldn't think he was an idiot.
Got it.
Because I had just come up on that myself,
So you were understanding.
Right. So if he wanted to keep doing that, that was fine. But I was.
Would you have been okay with him continuing to say that he, wanted to keep going all the time and implement church stuff in the home, church principles and stuff?
Well, the principles, if they had been the same that we'd always had, then yes. Except for, now I was like 38 at this point, and I had finally come out of having really had this bad view of myself. I realized, especially once the kids came, it was the first time in my life I had to be independent. I had been with my father and then my first husband and then my husband, and I'd never really made a lot of decisions for myself. And so once the kids came and, I didn't have anyone to rely on and they only had me, and there was a lot of stuff I had to do for them in court and with the, doctors and things like that, it gave me such a good self-esteem and I really had such self-worth by this point. There was no way in hell I was going to be submissive anymore.
Right.
Not that he was an iron-handed guy, but it was kind of like, well, we'll make a decision together, but the final say is his. And I just kind of said, yeah, we're gonna have to discuss that.
Well, you can't have two steering wheels on the car.
Yeah.
Is that what
Right,
Jehovah's
I
Witnesses
love
said?
that, but no.
They didn't
No.
say that?
No.
What metaphor did they use?
I don't know.
They did say that. Are you positive that
Well, I mean,
only
maybe-
one person can drive the car? Or
Well, maybe
if they're-
the witnesses said that. I don't know. But for me, when I had that discussion, I just said, I don't believe in the submission thing anymore
right.
at all. And he's like, what do you mean? Because his mom is extremely submissive. Their relationship is that way. She has all the, typical woman duties. He has all the typical man duties.
Right.
But when we had this discussion, it was not heated. It was like, I'm a really smart girl. I excel at doing certain things that you don't.
Right.
And I could take that weight off your shoulders if you just released control, and we could be partners instead
Be a
of
team,
you be
right.
the head and me to be the submissive
Two heads are
wife.
better than one.
What's that?
Two heads are better than one.
Absolutely. And I mean, until he actually, really thought about that and released his grip on the idea of that, like it was painful for him. You could tell he felt like it was his responsibility to guide the family and all this stuff. And but the thing was, I was no longer a little kid, and I had been really quite immature for a long time in our relationship. So me throwing this at him.
In what way?
I was socially immature, being a witness. I was extremely traditional in my role at home.
How so? When you say socially immature?
I was a typical witness that came out of the cult, and I didn't know how to behave around the normal person. I mean, my whole life was basically a salesperson. So I entertained people when,
Right.
And then people liked me, and that's how I got through
So
life
you didn't
before.
know how to turn that off or something?
I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't. I didn't know how to be real. I didn't know how to
Right.
open up my heart because I had been so battered by the witnesses that the only thing that I allowed people to get was the fun Kelly, not the
real Kelly.
nothing deep. And not that I didn't care for people, but I was just guarding myself. And so I didn't have any real, true relationships other than my husband. I had no real friends. And that was, about, not quite, but about a decade out of being a JW. I didn't have any deep, meaningful friendships.
The social issues that come out of having been a witness
Oh, God, I
all
was so
throughout
awkward.
your childhood is the worst
Oh
hard
my
for
God,
anybody,
I
I'm
was so
sure.
awkward. And the hardest part is being a little nerd. Because,
Right.
I mean, not everybody likes to know every detail about everything that you happen to have in your mind. And you don't know that because that's the only thing that you have in there.
To bond with people, right?
Right. That's the only thing that I had. And I could be funny and make people laugh, and then they would like me. But, like, that was it. That was all that I had to give. I was not going to
visibly-
show any vulnerability.
I was visibly socially awkward.
I don't think I was. I don't know. See, it's really difficult for me. I know what I kept to myself. My husband always said that I would, like, turn on when people came around. You know?
Wow.
Because that was my JW stuff. Like,
Right.
that's how I was at the hall. Nobody knew we came from an abusive background because I was the happy-go-lucky girl that could make anyone laugh. You know? That was my thing.
You didn't have close friends that knew better?
My dearest friends, who I am friends with again, we reconnected after all three of us got out of the cult. They knew, but not anybody else.
That's how it is with everybody's families, huh?
Yeah.
Everybody's
Yeah.
pretending.
Right. But these other two girls that are my dear adult friends were my childhood friends.
Right.
They had the same kind of things going on in their house. So we all knew. So,
Everybody's
yeah.
smiling at the Kingdom Hall,
Yep.
pretending
And crying.
like they.
And see, these are the girls that, I could cry with, and I just love them. They went through so much, too. But they get me, but I never had any adult friends like that because I wouldn't let myself be vulnerable.
Right.
But I'm not like that now. I can, I can trust people. It was hard, but, I have to really give it to my son and my daughter for helping me with that one, because going through therapy with them helped me as well.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, totally.
It was your therapy too?
It was.
Nice.
Yeah. We talked about not just them, but, how I parent and where I got my information, and, because we get our information from how we were raised.
Right.
And I would explain things of how I thought or what, this is
Watchtower
my
shit.
experience. And my, our therapist was like, oh, I grew up in a house like that too. That's not okay. And I was like, I know, but I don't know how to do it different.
Right.
I'm going completely opposite of what I grew up with, but I don't know what I should be doing because I don't want to be, I was so terrified to do something mentally or emotionally harmful to my children.
Right.
And they did drive me insane because they were so difficult. These little guys had such terrible backgrounds. They were like, I always said they were like baby tornadoes. Like, I did not know what to do because I was afraid that I was going to do something wrong and hurt them. Do something that was going to damage them somehow mentally if I'm correcting them,
Right.
And I didn't know a good balance. I didn't know I was so clueless. And it just, I figured it out with help. But I didn't come up. The only natural thing that I had was love. I was very affectionate and I was very loving.
Right.
It's the only, and I'm very nurturing by nature. But that's not because I learned that. That's just me. And I think that was what got us through those first years of me being clueless, was that I loved them so much, But I didn't know how to mother and parent the right way. I mean, I didn't know how to have boundaries and correct, and, I was way too hard on my little guy.
Oh, really?
Oh, he was my experiment, just like everybody's firstborn, It's like you don't know what you're doing, so you kind of practice on those ones.
Did you ever look back on so many things you feel bad for?
Oh, God, I feel bad. I had such high expectations,
Right.
and I didn't know any better. But, I mean, he was like 2 years old cleaning up his room, like, perfectly. And that's not, you don't need to expect that from a 2-year-old. But
Right.
when my daughter got older, when she got that age, I would look at my husband, and she's just being a kid, and we were like, oh, we were so mean to that poor boy. Because we looked at her, and she seemed like such a baby, but for some reason, I think because they came so close together, he seemed so much older. And plus the things that he had been through, that baby, he already knew how to take care of himself so much.
Really?
Oh, yeah, because he had to.
Wow.
that we just kind of, if he was going to put his toys away, we were going to keep teaching him how to do it and how to make his bed and how to do this and how to do that. And he did it, and we thought that was grand. We didn't think, you know what, you can get your own butt in there and clean up that baby's room. But, now you look at his room and it looks like a typical 8-year-old. So he didn't die from it,
Right.
He survived.
The card that you refused to sign, but you still stayed in the church. You were saying that wasn't enough to make you to turn you off to that religion.
No, because I didn't look at myself as being a part of that church, per se. I looked at myself as a follower of Christ, but I didn't look at myself as, like, what the denomination of that church was. And I just assumed, because there were other churches that didn't believe that was one of those points where, well, I don't have to agree with their interpretation of that, It wasn't a deal breaker for me.
Right.
So.
And then what made you finally say, this is it, nothing?
Well, it was like...
And was it the scary Bible stories that made you finally
It was
realize
mostly the story about Aaron putting his sons to death. Actually executing his own children and not being able to mourn, or he would be executed for mourning. That was it for me.
But is that what made you think that it was all BS?
Yep.
Or okay.
Oh, that was the last bit of it. And the other part, because I had been reading so much, I realized too that disfellowshipping was absolutely biblical. And when I had talked to, like, the pastors and stuff, they're like, no, God doesn't agree with that, and blah, blah, blah. That guy who, they used as an example, who was sleeping with his father's wife, that was, the absolute extreme, because he was unrepentant and, he was having an incestuous relationship. So, they had tried to talk to him about it several times, and he refused, so that's why, they didn't have anything to do with it. But when I read, the first part of the Old Testament, I realized that absolutely was the way God did things. And if your son, you couldn't keep your son or daughter under control, they were, constantly misbehaving, you could stone them.
Right.
And that was, maybe we don't follow those laws anymore, but God said you could. In fact, He told you to do it. So those types of things, it was adding up and adding up and adding up. Also, the other one, my absolute favorite, is if your daughter is raped, she has to marry her rapist. And I have this little precious baby who's been abused, and I'm thinking, so had we been in Israel in Hebrew times, that baby would have to grow up and marry this piece of crap that hurt her. And I'm like, I can't imagine. And I remember talking to my dad about that, and he's like, well, honey, it was different times. But as a little kid, when I first brought that up, I couldn't fathom it, and I just thought, well, I just don't understand God. And He thinks different than we do. But as an adult, there's no way. And that was it for me. I could not resolve the Jesus God to the Jehovah God. And if they don't mesh, then, if one part of the Bible is 100% wrong, which in my opinion it was, then the rest had to be as well. And I could no longer be what they considered a Christian. I was done. But it took me a good week, once I had that 100% in my mind, to speak to my husband about it. And the best thing about it was he had been feeling the same way for longer than I had, but I actually was, I was the one getting the kids ready for church and going to church and, being involved because I needed that social time.
He was conflicted before you were?
Yes. In fact, he was conflicted before he got me out of the JWs, but when he did research on the JWs, the only websites that he came up with were Christian websites. And so he kind of recommitted himself because he'd been raised that way. And it was all he knew. I mean, his parents were thrilled that he was going back to church. They just weren't thrilled that he was, dating a harlot like myself.
That's what they considered you? Like you were like this
Well, I've been
bad?
married before, and it doesn't matter if, in the eyes of, whatever, if you've been married before, you're not allowed to be married again, period.
And
In
in
this particular,
this other religion too?
yeah.
God.
So even if there's adultery, it doesn't mean that you can just go remarry. It's like, you can divorce them, but you can't remarry. And I'm like, where does it say that? You need to show me. And so as loving as my mother-in-law is to me now, in her heart of hearts, she does not believe that our marriage is valid. So.
God.
And I really don't care. She can think what she wants. I don't care. In fact, I don't really believe in marriage anymore anyway. I mean, I'm married and I made a commitment, and I could have done that without a piece of paper.
Right.
I mean, that's just the way I feel about it. I don't believe that the government needs to be involved or the church needs to be involved if I decide that I want to commit my life to one person. Period.
Right.
That's how I feel about it. So, if I had it to do all over again, I would be committed, and I wouldn't necessarily want to do anything legal, except for the tax breaks, and that really is a bad reason to get married. So.
Wait, what is?
The tax breaks, and
right.
you don't have any rights. Like if something happened
Or
to
medical
the
benefits.
person that you are married to, you don't have any rights to control what happens to them in the hospital without a marriage decree. So
Right.
those are reasons that the government puts on it to kind of force people into making that decision. They can't just do it spiritually on their own, make a commitment to somebody. If you want the kind of, partner benefits that marriage brings, then you have to actually go through a civil marriage. So,
Let's do something fun really quick.
okay.
I'm going to read you 3 anti-religion quotes.
Okay.
And I'm going to give you 3. These are by famous people.
And 3 what?
And the 3 names of these 3 famous people.
Okay, is any of them Jehovah's Witness? Because if it is, I will probably know who said it.
Are they Jehovah's Witnesses?
Are any of them Jehovah's Witnesses?
I don't think they're any religion.
Oh,
I
okay,
think they're
okay.
atheists or agnostic. Okay. The first
Okay.
one is this person said, I have as much authority as the Pope. I just don't have as many people who believe it. And this other person said, if Jesus came back and saw what was being done in his name, he'd never stop throwing up. And I'm gonna give you 4.
Okay.
The 4th one is, religion is excellent stuff for keeping common people quiet. Religion is what keeps the poor from murdering the rich. And then the 4th one, religion. It's giving people hope in a world torn apart by religion. That's a good one.
Whoever that is, I would like to kiss them on the mouth.
Okay, so
Okay,
you
give me
remember
some
them?
names.
Okay.
Is
Woody
one of
Allen.
them George Carlin?
Woody Allen.
Number
George
3.
Carlin.
Number 3.
What?
George
Number
Carlin.
3 what?
Number
What's number
3
3?
quote is George Carlin.
What was number 3 quote?
It was the one that said that, hang on. Religion is protecting people from killing people, but there was something before that that made me think it was George Carlin.
Religion. It's giving people hope in a world torn apart by religion.
No, that's the last one.
If Jesus came back and saw what was being done in his name, he'd never stop throwing up.
That was number 2.
I have as much authority as the Pope. I just
That was
don't
number
have as
1.
many people.
What was number 3?
Religion is excellent stuff for keeping common people quiet.
Yes. That was
It
George
is what
Carlin.
keeps the poor from murdering the rich.
That's George Carlin. Yes?
Are you sure? Because
I am saying that's my final answer.
I haven't given you any other names though.
I don't care, but I think that's him. Ah, dang it. No, I'm not.
I tried to give you a chance.
I know you did. I thought you were trying to trick me, though.
Okay, so then George Carlin is either, if Jesus came back and saw what you were doing in his name, he'd never stop throwing up. Or it's, I have as much authority as the Pope. I just don't have as many people who believe it.
That's George
Or
Carlin.
religion. It's giving people hope in a world torn apart by religion.
That might be George Carlin, the last one. I think the last one is.
The last one,
Yeah.
religion. It's giving people hope in a world torn
Torn
apart by
apart by
religion.
religion. Dang it!
It's not.
Damn it to hell.
It's one of these last two.
I have as much authority as the Pope. I just don't have as many believers. People
Is that
who
your
believe
final
me.
answer?
Oh God. Well, obviously not. Are you giving me an out again? So I think it. I don't. I'm guessing here. So.
Let me read the other one to you again then.
Good Lord.
If Jesus came back and saw what was being done in his name, he'd never stop throwing up.
Okay, I'm gonna say that's George Carlin because you read it again, trying to give me a little good one there, but I don't.
I have as much authority as the Pope. I
That
just
sounds
don't
more
have
like
as
George
many people
Carlin
who
to me.
believe it. It's because the
The
way I'm
first-
saying these. They all sound like it. That's the way I'm
Okay,
saying it.
that's possible. I don't know.
I don't know what I'm
I'm
saying.
confused. Which
Wow.
one is George Carlin?
Listen to you now. You sounded so sure at the beginning.
I was.
Now listen to you.
You've dashed my hope. And I don't even have a God to pray to.
Well, there's a lot riding on this one, though. It's
there?
all at the end of the day, it's nothing, obviously. But for you to get 4 out of 4 choices wrong,
I know.
especially when you were so absolutely positively sure at the
I
beginning.
really thought the very first one that I chose, number 3, was George Carlin.
On the very first one, you didn't even need a multiple choice.
No.
Now look at you.
I know, you've dashed my hope, like I said. I'm a broken woman. It doesn't take a lot. I'm going to go in the corner and suck my thumb and rock.
Didn't read up on George Carlin.
I like George Carlin. He's
I know, he's
a
awesome.
good guy.
Okay, so which is it?
Number 2,
What's number 2?
the throwing up one.
If Jesus came back and saw what was
See,
being
that
done,
doesn't sound like him to me. Number 1 sounds like him, but you have me all confused now. I think it's number 1. I gotta
how
go with
well
1.
how well do you know George Carlin?
Not very. I've only heard 2 different comedic stand-up routines of his. One when he was very old, and then one that was on YouTube that was when he was pretty young. The 10 Commandments one, I just heard that like 2 or 3 days ago, and that was when he was pretty young.
Okay, what's your final answer? I want
Number
that.
2.
So that was. Which one's number 2?
The throw up one.
And that's your final answer?
Yes. It's not it, is it? Yeah, God damn it to hell. I used to like you.
I have as much authority as the Pope. I just don't have as many people who believe it.
Yeah, okay, fine. I don't want to do this anymore. We're
No,
done.
you don't. I was going to set up another round.
See that? I've just given up. See what you did to me? You broke me.
How about from some modern famous people?
Okay,
Well, they are
I don't
modern.
care. Go ahead. Just go ahead and
Oh, you do want to do another one?
yeah, I was teasing you.
Okay. Here we go. So I'm going to pick one person.
So, are you going to tell me? Are we still
Well, just
working
pick-
on these same quotes?
I'm going to just pick one person. Oh, what? You want to work on the other quotes? Is
Well,
that
I
what
want to know who said them now.
you're saying? Okay, all right. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't offer you up that.
I think because you like to harm my innards.
I like to do what?
Harm my innards.
You're too funny.
See, I've got my defenses up now. I'm making you laugh. See what you did to me?
Okay,
Just have you know that you're not my friend. You're at arm's length. Okay?
that's what's happening here.
That's what's happening.
Okay, so we were knocking off. I have as much authority as the Pope. I just
Yes.
don't have as many people who believe it.
Right.
Okay, so there's 3 more left. Religion is excellent stuff for keeping common people quiet. Religion is what keeps the poor from murdering the rich. The next one is religion. It's giving people hope in a world torn apart by religion. And then there's, if Jesus came back and saw what was being done in his name, he'd never stop throwing up. So the choices were Jon Stewart, Napoleon Bonaparte, and Woody Allen.
Oh. Napoleon, that's intriguing.
Yep.
Interesting. So the one that I really liked the best was that religion is there to give people hope in a world torn apart by religion.
Okay, so you want to work on that one?
So the people are Jon Stewart, Napoleon, and Woody Allen.
Yep.
I think Napoleon said that one.
He said what?
The one that I like the best, which is
Religion that's giving people hope in a world torn apart by religion?
Yes.
Final answer?
No. Dang it! Stop saying final answer because then I'm confused
Just
by
give
that.
me the opportunity.
I don't want the opportunity.
Okay, so that's your, okay. You're going with...
So wait now, give me a sec because now I think that you're...
So for future answers, don't ask if it's
Yes,
your final
because then you
okay.
confuse me, and I'd rather just be wrong or right.
How about we just assume that no matter what, I'm going to ask you that, so,
Oh,
so it's not
fine.
confusing. Okay.
Yes, that's final.
John, okay.
You just gave it away.
No, I was
That
about
was
to
Jon
say,
Stewart.
I was about to say Jon Stewart was your answer.
Was
But
it?
that's,
No, it's Napoleon.
Okay.
I said Napoleon anyway.
Okay. Yeah.
I can tell by your pausing that I'm wrong.
Yeah.
So then that was Jon Stewart.
That's your answer? That's your final
Yeah,
answer?
that's it.
Yeah, because I gave that one away.
Well, I also didn't think that sounded like Woody Allen. I'm
And you
thinking
know what?
Woody Allen is the what?
I don't think that just seemed a little too modern day witty for Napoleon to say that.
Napoleon? Well, what's the other ones?
Okay. Oh, I guess what, you know what? Because the other two are pretty witty too.
Yeah, Napoleon
Okay.
was a bright kind of dude. You
Okay.
know, that whole
There's
kicking the world's ass and all.
Religion is what keeps the poor from murdering the rich.
Oh, that is Napoleon.
And then
The other one is Woody Allen.
Final answer.
Yeah.
Final answer.
Oh God!
No, I'm just
Why are you doing that? Apparently, I got it wrong.
Is it your final answer?
It is.
I'm just messing with you. Okay. Yeah, you're right.
And you know what? From the get-go, that Napoleon quote was actually my favorite one out of all of them.
Yeah, that's good, huh?
Yeah.
And it's good and true. Mm-hmm. Well, all of them are good and true.
Yeah. So give me some modern ones.
You were officially 2 for 4. We'll find another easier.
Oh, shut up. Easier. Good Lord.
We'll do reality show quotes or something. Famous Jehovah's Witnesses.
There you go. Dude, I'll take famous Jehovah's Witnesses for 200.
Right. Or how about this? Which person was not a Jehovah's Witness in this
Oh,
list?
there you go.
Okay. And this is 8 people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
8?
6,
Holy
8
schmoly.
people. Out of 8.
There's only one not a ex-Jehovah's Witness?
How about this out of 10, actually? Yeah, out of 10. Okay. And it's going to be pretty easy. But one of these people is not a witness.
Okay.
Or was never a witness. You got your Prince, Michael Jackson.
I thought they were, but they are not ex-witnesses.
This person in this list was never a witness.
Okay.
Never had anything to do with it.
Nothing at all. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, Prince, Michael Jackson, Tom Brokaw, Serena Williams, Dwight D. Eisenhower, Jerry Halliwell, which is one of the Spice Girls,
Right.
Terrence Howard, Michelle Rodriguez, the Notorious B.I.G.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Tom Brokaw.
Final answer?
Yeah.
Very good.
Thank you.
You've redeemed yourself.
Did I? Okay.
Yeah. You knew about
Well-
you knew about Eisenhower
I did.
and one of the Spice Girls.
I did not, but it sounded more reasonable than Tom Brokaw. Because I'd never heard anything about Tom Brokaw being a witness, and it seems like it would have come out with his other scandals.
Right. Jerry Halliwell is she's one of the Spice Girls. I can't think of which one. She was
Baby
the one
Spice, right? The blonde?
No, she had red hair, I think.
Oh, Ginger Spice.
Yeah, Ginger Spice.
Ginger Spice.
Yeah.
Interesting. And who was Michelle Rodriguez? Who is she?
You know Michelle Rodriguez.
Do I? Was she?
She's in the Fast and Furious movies.
Can I admit something to you?
That you never saw that?
Uh-uh.
That's okay. You didn't need to see those.
I didn't see him.
She was in the movie about the girl being a boxer or whatever. It was her first movie ever.
About a girl boxer?
Yeah.
The one that had,
Girl
what's
Fight
his
or
name?
something?
Clint, Girl Fight.
Yeah, not that one.
Okay.
Eastwood.
That sucked.
You have your laptop in front of you.
I do, but I'm not cheating.
Yeah. Oh, no, we're not. This isn't a game. You just
Okay.
weren't sure who she was.
Okay, hang on. She was on Lost?
Yeah, she sure was.
Oh, okay, I know who she is.
Yeah.
I watched Lost. Oh, interesting. Yeah, she's cool. I like her.
Yeah.
Is she still a witness?
No.
Okay, I was
She
going to
thinks
say.
it's so damn ridiculous.
Good.
Right. Now you can continue liking her, huh?
Yeah, I was like, no. Dang.
Wanted to believe she was smarter than that.
How about the girl who's a runway model who continues to be a witness? I forget her name.
Hey, Naomi Campbell?
No. Tell me that woman is not a witness.
She's a witness.
Oh, fuck me. Really?
Yes.
How did she get away with that?
I don't know.
I guess that's the Williams deal, too, so.
Right.
Seriously.
Yeah, she still believes.
Well, I should go because it's 4, and my kids will be here shortly, so.
Okay.
You'll have to end it somehow. It's on you.
By
It's on your
saying,
shoulders.
how about by saying, thanks for listening, guys.
There you go.
Comment, rate, subscribe with all that other stuff.
that good
What are the
stuff.
things you say at the end?
It's pretty
Comment,
easy.
subscribe.
You look down at the bottom and it says
Subscribe.
subscribe, and you
It is
put your
red.
little